I started out as a coffee connoisseur. Yeah. Now I think I'm obsessed. I would say that I'm obsessed with coffee. My name is Adarian Larison. I am a third generation Haitian American coffee farmer. My family is from the island of Haiti, and I grew up here in the United States. I went to Tennessee State University and studied engineering and became an electrical engineer. And I did that for a while. I did that for about 8 years. And after doing so, I realized that that really wasn't my passion. Everybody thought I was crazy. My family was like, "What are you doing, leaving a good job?" But one day I had enough and I cashed out my 401k and I went to Haiti and invested. I started building on my passion, which is coffee. And it was something that's been in our family for a long time. And I did it really more so as a way to reconnect with who I was and how to connect with my Haitian heritage. I knew that my family in the mountains had produced coffee for over 80 something years, but it felt like I was always removed from that because I was here in the States. And I felt that if I reconnected to my roots, that I would feel more fulfilled, and I was right. So I went to coffee school. I went to coffee school for like 4 months the first time to learn about the history and the horticulture and the agriculture part. And then I went to another place called the Coffee Science Institute, and I studied coffee science for another 8 months. So I learned the fermentation science, the food science, if you will, of coffee as a food and not just a quick commodity type drink. What we learn is how to evaluate green beans, which are unrefined or raw coffee. We learn how to identify the tasting notes. We learn how to recognize different grow regions and characteristics of beans in the roasting process. So I am a sommelier, which means that I can evaluate coffee just by looking at them or tasting them and tell you what part of the world they're from and if they were handled responsibly in the brewing or the cultivation process. So now I started getting into things like brew temperatures, environmental conditions like humidity and storage, and the science on how to infuse different foods or flavor notes and pair different foods and flavor notes without creating a contrast to make something similar. And then in other cases, to learn how to create the contrast to make something different. So that was very exciting. Yeah, I enjoy doing that, the collaboration with Guidance. So let me tell you about the mashup between Guidance. Guidance made me particularly excited because it's Tennessee whiskey. I love dealing with spirits, right? And when we talk about alcoholic spirits, that's an entire section within coffee. So we actually went and competed on the regional level at the Specialty Coffee Association. There's a category called coffee and spirits, and that's exactly where it sounds. You put coffee together into different cocktails, into different uses to bring the best out of different spirits. So as a novice, I decided that I wanted to dabble in that because there's some very distinct flavor notes within whiskey that are appreciated by whiskey drinkers. So if I were to say that I wanted to pick up on the smoky note or the vanilla note or the that cherry, maraschino cherry after note that's in the Guidance whiskey, I could also manipulate the taste profile with the notes of the tannins or the oak that's residue in the whiskey itself. So I had a lot of room to play with. And I love that as a technician and as an engineer because it gave me different things to remix. I was able to roast specifically to the profile of the coffee that I chose that comes from my farm and introduce it to some of the notes that were crafted into the whiskey. And what came out of it was something really, really special. So now we have a Javae and Guidance collaboration. So what we did is we took one of our most refined roast of coffee and we paired it with the notes that were naturally occurring in the whiskey. And we did it so well that we competed with it. So when we competed, we placed second and third place, respectively, in that category for mixing the coffee with the whiskey. So we did cold brew, we did some hot drinks, like a traditional hot a toddy or an Irish type whiskey, but we used the Tennessee whiskey made by Guidance, and it was a crowd pleaser. It was an instant success. So we knew from that point forward that we wanted to collaborate with Guidance. We love what they're about. We love that they are mission focused. You know, they believe in a lot of collaboration as well as uplifting their community, and so do we. It's a big reason on why we got into coffee. And so we knew it would be a good harmony. The name of my coffee is Javae Coffee and Tea. And I am a third generation coffee farmer. So my father's people and my grandfather's people were people in agriculture in Haiti. And when they left Haiti and came to the United States, I resurrected the farm by going back and reinvesting into that infrastructure so that I could rebirth the coffee plantation itself. We have 64 acres. We grow coffee, cacao, which is cocoa, and burro bananas for some other things. So we're not a monocrop, meaning that we only have one crop. We have several other things. The coffee itself is world renowned. Haiti has some of the best coffee in the world, but you would never know it because of the economic and the political events that surround Haiti. So what we're doing, our mission is to use commerce to bridge the people of Haiti with economic access and economic opportunities with the African American and the African experience here in the United States. We want to connect the cousins. We want to connect the people that are disenfranchised in one place with another group of people so that they can collaborate and have business opportunities going forward. So that's another reason that we were really excited about working with Guidance. So when you think about that, I hope that makes you think about cities like New Orleans or cities like Boston or like New York or Florida, because these are the places where the Haitian influence is felt and has also impacted a lot of the culture in the United States. So it was really a good way for me to pay homage to where I'm from, but also pay homage to where I'm from, because my African-American experience is a big part of who I am and what makes me think and do the things that I do. When it comes to the coffee itself, we are cultivating the coffee from the farm, and we do so in a very responsible and sustainable way. So that means that we only use methods that are traditional to traditional Haitian agriculture. We don't use any chemicals. So our process is 100% natural and organic. The other thing that we do is we give the money directly to the farmers. We function on a business model of direct trade, meaning that when you purchase a bag of our coffee, that bag is going directly to not just the people who package, distribute, and roast it, but it's also going directly to the farmers. And that's a lot different from what some people would consider to be fair trade. In fair trade, whoever controls the market decides what's fair. But in direct trade, the consumers have a direct relationship with the people that pull it from the farm to the cup. And that's what we're about. We take those proceeds and we do things to improve the critical infrastructure in Haiti, such as clean water, sanitation, and access to technology. Because we believe that those things will take Haiti into the next generation of sustainability that will allow them to do more for Haiti. Haitians helping Haiti. So it's really for the good of the people and the good and the perseverance of the Haitian people. And I want the main contributors to that effort to be the people that we connect with through our product. So particularly African-American people having this experience, we want to establish a relationship, as well as a global experience with Americans and other people worldwide. So we focus on those two groups because we see the kinship, but we're very open and inclusive to those other groups because there's really no such thing as a group. It's just subsections of one big family. And that's why we chose to name the company Javae. Javae means to go and agree. It's something that we say in the mountains. When someone agrees with something, we say Javae. And so that's what we chose to name the company. We are choosing to base our operations in Nashville, Tennessee, because Nashville is a big part of what influenced me and my American experience. And so I want to be able to share that. Everything about the culture, the cultural nuances of being African-American and in the South speak very much to me because they're very akin to the experiences of my Haitian people. The things that we find important are like the stylizing of making the best of what you have, the stylizing of being self-reliant. When I first got started with Javae Coffee, I was selling coffee out my trunk. And it reminded me of Master P selling records and selling tapes out the back of his trunk. And I felt very connected to that homegrown, brewed aspect of it. And so that's why we're really choosing to make certain that we function that on the Dirty South, because we're cousins. It's like my Dirty South experience growing up in the South and in Tennessee prepared me for the culture that would allow me to thrive and do well in agriculture and doing economic sustainability in Haiti. So you have South Haiti mixed with a Southern American experience. And that's what makes it work. It's trapping. I'm trapping coffee and it's legal. And all of the skills from the culture that is the Dirty South is what I'm doing. I whip up product, I grind, I measure things out in kilograms and scales, and I package and distribute to people in an independent way to empower them. And this time is legal, and it's for the betterment of and the prosperity of the people of Haiti.